Hello men, hello Mgtows. Today we're going to talk about xenophobia. And we're going to be honest, like always. First I'll tell you, my journey started with xenophobia. At the beginning, the question of why had happened. Why did this happen to me? So the question of why recently got answered for me, and it's plain xenophobia. You ask what xenophobia is. It's the fear of other cultures, it's the fear of people, it's the fear of faces, it's the fear of everything. Xenophobia is simply something that's programmed into us. It's conditioning. It's conditioning what you should fear in this life. So you're asking yourself, Joe, what do you fear? No, it's not what I fear. I fear nothing pretty much in my life. What should I fear? I should fear other cultures. I should fear war. I should fear a lot of things, but I don't, and that's half the problem. When I look around me, I see people that see me and fear me. I think it was FDR that made the statement that became so famous. He said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. Why was that statement so popular? Why did it leave such an indelible mark in human history? I think it's because fear itself is the shortest route to defeat. When I look around and I see the people that fear me, I see people that could harm me. Fear does that. People that fear you often overreact in any situation that has to do with you in it. Yes, they fear you, hence they overreact in any situation that you are around. If you get entangled with these people, they can harm you. Let's talk about gynocentrism and xenophobia. It's easy not to fear women when in reality, the real danger is women. When you're preoccupied with fearing everything else. How xenophobia or xenophobia plays into traditional based communities, it's an absolute must for them. Tribal and ritual groups. This culture binds itself as a strong binding in these group families, in these communities. Hence, it's us against the world. David Navata of Michigan State just did a lot of experiments on classic conditioning. One of the classic conditioning was John B. Watson's experiment. It's called the Little Albert experiment. When little Albert was just a baby, he was faced with some classic conditioning like Pavlov's dog. Watson essentially made, I'll put it in a low bar too so you can go watch it. Little Albert, a 9 to 11 month old baby, it's unclear how old he was, afraid of white fluffy things. He gave him a phobia of white fluffy things, white fluffy masks, white fluffy rats, white fluffy rabbits. Essentially, he made him afraid and fear of white things. Now let's think about how that works in the past. Men have always been the protectors. And it's good to be the protector, a man. But he has to do one thing. He has to be aggressive and scary, and that makes other men, women, and animals keep their distance from their families. We've talked about this in Southern culture and the violence in Southern culture. So we eventually, whether we are black or white men, all men are scarier to women, who are viewed as docile creatures who would never hurt you. We have enveloped a cognitive readiness, which as I call it, to be fearful of certain things in this world. People are fearful of a lot of things. Outgroups, other cultures, Muslims. People who aren't afraid of these things. There's been new studies in volunteers that try to prove that these persistent fears were made of cognitive preconditioning to be afraid of men. Basically, the male members of the outgroup, so white women and women fear black men, and black men and women fear white men, and all the other indicators are fear diminished. Fear diminished is for women, and that's gynocentrism. So you, as a man, you can't live that way. You can't have this cognitive readiness when you're projecting this strong male individual, because what you are projecting is something to fear, and that's what happened to me. During that process of protecting the family, she became fearful of me. Hence, she gained the ability to harm me. It was okay to dehumanize me because I was that scary thing. I had that white face. I was the white male enemy. The thing she had heard all her life from females around her. And that may be feminism, that may be classical conditioning in schools, but it's true. I had become the enemy. Hence, she needed to destroy the enemy, and her and the state did that. The state is particularly responsible for this classic conditioning through education, through feminism. They know what's going on. They condition people to fear the white male because the white male is the classic protector, provider. But the backlash to that is the same people we are protecting and providing for begin to fear us, and hence it turns to hate. So this is the question I've been asking myself for 15 years, 20 years now. Why? Why did they do that to me? Why did it become okay to hurt me? The answer was I got married. The answer was it was feminism. The answer was it was something else. Some evil person out there just did it. It was religion. It was the church. It was Muslims. It was black men. It was something else. It was always something else. Besides, I bought into a system that assured my destruction. I was that scary protector, provider. Hence, I was the white face, and that assured my destruction. So let's talk about something. Let's talk about your property. You're on your property. You're tending your field. You look up, and there's a dog. Alongside the dog is a female. You look at the dog and you say to yourself, you can't distinguish between if the dog is hostile, the dog runs forward towards you. You can't distinguish if the dog is hostile or it is friendly. You need to do that. Most of your attentions will be on as a fear response. You're going to maybe take your hoe, put it towards the dog and say, oh, ho, ho, no, 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 until you can figure out whether that dog is friendly or hostile. Once you determine that, you go, okay, the dog's friendly or the dog's hostile. Please remove the dog from my area, or I'm going to beat it with this hoe. Now, what you've done is you failed to recognize that there's a human with the dog, the female. That's what we're talking about. You're predisposed to not look at the other being, or the female being in that. So she runs up and she says, oh, the dog's not hostile. And you go, okay, fine. The immediate response should be, but that's okay, but why are you on my property? You're forgiving her, or you're acting in a gynocentric manner to disregard the female as having any harm towards you, but she may have harm towards you. Just because she has a dog doesn't mean she has no harm towards you, and she is on your property. Okay, now in the second scenario, I call this the Gunsmoke scenario. It's me and my ex used to play this on people. A female and a male approach a house. So the female goes in and she says, oh, you know, and she picks a male and she says, there's a guy and he's looking for me and he means me harm. He wants to harm me. The white knight will jump up. He thinks the female needs protection. That's the protection mode that we talk about. He can see the male. He can see the face of the other male, and he fears the face of the other male. So he puts his arms back and he says, okay, and he says, hey buddy, I don't know what you're doing there, but you need to leave. And he takes his focus off the primary offender. In this case would be the female. Now the female steals his wallet, or the female cons him in. Oh, I need money. He says I stole $200 from him, and the white knight will either give the money or try to protect the female away. If the con works right, he'll give her $200. She gives the money to you, and then you walk away, and then she walks away, and then you have the money. It's the Gunsmoke con, is what I call it. That's because males have a propensity to disregard the female as danger. They don't fear the female, but they do fear male faces. They do fear other faces, white faces, black faces, Muslim faces. Like the dog, you shouldn't have been looking at the dog. You should have been looking at the dog's owner. So what we're talking about here is fear diminished. Fear diminished is what you should fear. In both scenarios, you can see fear diminished. One was the white knight. His fear was diminished towards the female because there was an aggressive male. In scenario with the dog was perceived as the aggressive party, so fear was diminished to the female. And that's what we're talking about. Now, there's always three parties in fear diminished, and whatever that, I look at it sort of like Capra's triangle at that point. There's the victim, there's the rescuer, and there's the villain. They change spots a lot. In fear diminished, the victim will change spots with the villain, and the villain will change spots with the rescuer, or, you know, in that scenario, whatever there is. But the chances of you getting harmed will be great if there is fear diminished. Now let's look at Mgtow. Mgtow is a men's group. We used to be a very racially inclusive men's group, and over the last few years this has changed to where it more is now a part of the manosphere and a part of Mgtow, and is separated from Mgtow. And then we have now these anti-feminist groups. Now when you look at these anti-feminist groups in classic conditioning, what have they done? Marcus has been talking about this a lot. Marcus spots it and he sees it. What they have is fear diminished for the female. Yeah, there's this fake feminism group over here that they're evil and they got their enemy, but there's these cute little white bunnies or cute little bunnies over here that are all pro anti-feminism, and it's fear diminished for the female. What they're doing is they're projecting classic gynocentrism. They're saying, oh no, we can't possibly fear these ones over here, because we have this evil beast over here. It was classical conditioning. They're conditioning to fear. Now, feminism in itself is fading. They need a new enemy. So who do they choose? Well, it must be the white male again. It must be the male face. That's Mgtow. So now they have their enemy because they see the male face, and they have their cute little bunny that they can hold on to, their mommy image of the honey badgers and shoe on head. And they have all the little bears around there, Care Bears, females that can't possibly hurt them. So the whole scenario plays out again because they have the enemy. And I think this is going to go on too long, so I'll talk about this in another video coming up. And thanks a lot, men. Thanks for being Mgtow. Y'all take care.